चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे Om Sri Aurobindo Mira is my refuge. Good morning, Namaste, Vande Matram, welcome all of you. The topic of this morning's discussion is on our yoga. So, as quoted by Sri Aurobindo, and we are discussing on the light of Sri Aurobindo's writings in different names, different forms. We have discussed this topic like integral yoga, supramental yoga. In many ways, we have seen this yoga and our yoga. So today we will quote the Lord, quote our master, who has quoted his of course this is the master's yoga in expressed masterly in the master's format. So we are going to follow the master and understand what the master is explaining in his masterly speeches. So this is the thing here in the course. It is in our yoga. In our yoga, not sometimes sometimes this, sometimes integral yoga, sometimes supramental yoga, so many ways. Yoga of the surrender, transformation. So different ways we'll see. Now we'll quote Sri Aurobindo in his term. It is our yoga. It is in our yoga the way to devotion and surrender. It is in our yoga the way of devotion and surrender. So, for it is the psychic movement that brings the constant and pure devotion. Psychic movement that brings the constant and pure devotion, and the removal of the ego that makes it possible to surrender. Without the replacement of surrender, replacement of ego, the surrender is 100% surrender. It is difficult to achieve. So two things are go needed. Two things that go indeed together, go together. So what are the two things here in the course? While quoting, it is in our yoga, of course, which is the topic we are going to discuss now. The other way, which is the way to knowledge, it is the meditation in the head, by which there comes the opening above. Meditation on the head. So what happens? What is there? Initially, the psychic movement it was expressed. Now itself above the head, in the head. The quietude, or silence in the mind, are the descent of peace, etc. Quietude and silence in the mind, and the descent of peace of the higher consciousness generally till it envelops the being and fills the body and begins to take up all the movements. That quietude, silence of the mind, and descent of peace, etc. Of the higher consciousness till there is descent till it envelopes the being. First it envelopes, they can then fills the body and begins to take up the movements. That is the clue. That is the clue. That is the central idea. But this involves a passage through silence and a certain emptiness of the ordinary activities. That is also there. Also, it has got lacuna. They being pushed out and done as a purely superficial action, and you strongly dislike silence and emptiness. That the criteria is also there. Then Sri Aurobindo moves for the psychic movement in the above the head, and third way Sri Aurobindo pushes forward, which is one of the two ways towards the yoga by works is the separation of the Purusha from the Prakriti. Separation of the Purusha from the Prakriti, the inner silent being from the outer active one, inner silent one from the outer active one. So far one has the two consciousness or a double consciousness, the one behind watching and observing and finally controlling and changing the other, which is active in front. So inward to outward is the inner to outward is the rule. So inner that actually it is silent, it is controlling, changing the other, which that is active in front. But this means this also means living in the inner peace, silence, and dealing with the activities as they were a thing of the surface. The another way here in the course, the other way of beginning the yoga of the works is by doing them for the divine. The second method, the next method here in the course here, yoga of the works is by doing them for the divine, for the mother, for the divine, then comma, it is for the divine. Just imagine for whom we will really work. There is no absolute difference between the mother and the divine because they are of the same consciousness. And not for oneself, consecrating and dedicating them till one consecrately feels the divine force taking up the activities and doing them for one. That patience, that feeling, that realization must be there. Divine or the mother, the work must be done, and not for oneself. Consecrating and dedicating them till one is consecrately feels the divine force. The divine force he feels consecrately. That force is taking up the activities and doing them for the one, for this divine. So meditation is one of the means to approach the divine and the great way. It is a great way, there is no doubt of it. But it can't be called the shortcut. There is also some more method is there. It can't be called. It has got its aspect, it has got its utility, it has got its purpose, but not the shortest cut. For most, it is a long and most difficult to tough, of course. People start using it, utilizing it from the time immemorial. Difficult though it is a high ascent. So second method, karma is much simpler road provided one's mind is not fixed in the karma to the exclusion of the divine. So karma has got also maximum protective device it is there. Then during the course, love, bhakti, surrender, the psychic opening are the only shortcuts to the divine. Very interesting methods. Love, bhakti, surrender, and psychic opening are the only shortcuts to the divine. But we are going on the other way, tapasya, ardas tapasya, this meditation, so and so, or can be. For if the love and bhakti are too vital, then there is likely to be a seesaw between ecstatic expansion and the viraha, abhiman, despair itself. If that is only love and bhakti are the only the vitality confined to the vitality, and not the straight fight, but a wheeling around one's own ego instead of running straight towards the divine. So that it has got its own demerit. If it is vital, that love and bhakti are vital, then it will be a lacuna, it will be a negative point as well. But love, bhakti, surrender, if it is, and psychic opening, if it is all, everything is directed towards the divine, then it has got a great value. So we'll quote it again. I will go deep, little bit ahead with a very deep discussion, interesting discussion rather. To say that one enters the stream of sadhana through work only is to say too much. One can enter it through meditation or bhakti also. Not only the work is a means, already we have discussed that meditation and bhakti also, but work is necessary to get the full stream. To get the full stream, to make it the full and final stream, to bring it, it is required, the work is necessary. And not drift away from on one side, not go circling there. So work, it brings the balance, already we have seen. Of course, all work helps provided it is done in the right spirit. So that's what the love and bhakti initially has quoted, the Lord has quoted. But if it is vital, then there will be a lacuna, there will be a barrier. So here also, how will be faithfully will do the work. Of course, here in the quotes here, all work helps provided it is done in the right spirit. Then again we'll go, that spirit must be there, we must acquire. There are several sadhakas who have advanced very far by work alone, work consecrated to the mother, or else by mainly with the very little time for meditation. Most of the time for work and a little time is for meditation. Mother, that's why I clarified, work done in true spirit is meditation, work done in contact is meditation, so and so. Others have advanced far by meditation mainly, but also work simultaneously, they have also done the work. Those who tried to do meditation alone and became impatient of work, if that is there, have generally seen failures in life. They have already seen couple of letters here in the gives example. But one or two who may succeed in meditation alone, very rare, the case is very rare. The thing is that Aurobindo, for that actually, for the sadhaka must be left to himself and the mother to find the right way which need not be there of the neighbor. So it is up to their consciousness, and it is the opening to the mother. Let them decide with this thing here in the course here. Then a great many people here in the course, majority perhaps, find it sadhana through work is the easiest of all. Through work, doing sadhana through work is the easiest of all. Many feel. Many find it easy to think of the mother when working. That remembrance is there. That is a great help for them. But when they read or write, their mind goes off to a thing, read or written, and they forget everything else. This is the situation scenario. I think that is the case with most. Physical work, on the other hand, can be done with the most external part of the mind. Physical, I'll quote it again. Physical work, on the other hand, can be done with the most external part of the mind, leaving the rest free to remember or to experience. So we'll move again. It is not the meditation, thinking with the mind. It is not the meditation in brackets here in the course, of course, it is not the thinking by mind, but the concentration or turning of the consciousness that is the important. Not using only mind, but the concentration or turning of the consciousness that is important. That is that when we are relying more on the meditation, that we must know concentration or turning of the consciousness that is important. And that can happen in work, in writing, or any kind of action, as well as in sitting down to the contemplate. So think that consciousness must be there, turning to the conscious or the consciousness that is most, and the concentration, which are the mostly required things. Meditation is the best when it comes spontaneously. But thing is that sometimes we stress upon that time is there, we have to go, we have to stick to the time, we have to follow the following rules, we have to sit like this. So many confusions are there. Meditation is best when it comes spontaneously, but there should be full concentration in the work if it is to take the place of the meditation. Then again, before it is time, of course, it is time is running away from us. Those who have an expensive creative vital or a vital made for action are usually at their best when the vital is not held back from the movement, and they can develop faster than the introspective meditation here in the course here. All that is needed is that the action should be dedicated. Number one condition: action should be dedicated, so that they must grow by more and more prepared to feel and follow the divine force. It is descending, it is working in between them. When it moves them, this is force, they are moved by the force. It is a mistake to think that to live in introspective meditation all the time is invariably the best or the only way for the yoga. It is not to be taken care, it must not be thought of in that way. Still in the course here, but for the moment, progress through concentration and inner experience is the first necessity for you at the initial moment. So here in the course speaks here, it can be got rid of in two ways: by rejecting, and the second one pushing it out so that it remains in the outside force only, by bringing down the higher peace light into the physical mind that is required. So if any suggestion, if mind and vital, that concentration is not working, you are trying hard, so that must be taken care of. He has to learn to consecrate his work and feel the mother's power working through it. That consecration must be there. A purely sedentary subjective realization is only a half realization. Then during the final course, the divine has promised himself to me, if I cleave to him always, then I will never cease to do whatever may come. That is the thing.